Good evening. Welcome to our 2024 commencement ceremony. I'm Fritz Steiner, the Dean and Paley Professor here at the Weitzman School of Design. I wanted to extend a special welcome to friends and family members who have traveled great distances to be here. I know that our students would not be here today without your support, so thank you. We have students graduating from 25 countries tonight. I do not know if all their loved ones were able to be here in person, so some people in the audience are watching via YouTube. And we are very glad that you can join us virtually. Now, I'm a three-time graduate of the school, so I love Penn. It's been a part of my life now for 5 decades. I'm personally invested in the success of every student, and as I walked through the halls of Meyerson, Weitzman, and Adams in recent weeks, as students were presenting their final projects, one thing stood out. Of course, the work was well researched and executed, and the presentations were well delivered. But what impressed me was how carefully you listened to the community members and partners on your projects. You met with people from all walks of life, not just here in Philadelphia, but as far away as Panama, Colombia, Kenya, Turkey, and the United Arab Emirates. You've discovered the unique power that comes from setting aside your own experience to listen and learn from someone else's. For many of the parents, friends, and other loved ones here today, you probably heard of the Quakers. Now, I don't mean, the university's athletes or our odd mascot. He's called the Fighting Quaker, which is a little contradictory. He's a tall fellow in 17th century red and blue attire. Don't worry, I'm not going to break into singing the red and blue, the Penn's fight song. I'll spare you that, but maybe at the next basketball game. But in American history, the Quakers were the English and Irish people who settled Pennsylvania after fleeing religious persecution in Europe. Pennsylvania's namesake and founder, William Penn, was himself a Quaker, and he made religious tolerance a cornerstone of this colony. This area is dotted with Quaker meeting houses going back 400 years, where members still gather. Quakers are friends, worship by sitting in silence and taking turns sharing what's on each other's mind. Listening, of course, is something practiced by people of many faiths, but Quakers made it central to their communities. And for those of us in the built environment professions, it's essential. Whether you're an artist or an architect, a planner or a data scientist, listening is your superpower. Of course, the history of this place that we now know as the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania goes back centuries before the arrival of the Quakers. The university stands on traditional homeland of the Lenape people. The Lenape were the inhabitants of our region approximately 12,000 years prior to colonization, and thousands of Lenape continue to live in their homeland in eastern Pennsylvania and the Northeast. Now, history is visible everywhere you look in Philadelphia, but the Lenape experience is just one reminder that not all the city's history is visible. Let's remember the buildings, the landscapes, and the other features of our environment not always is a reflection of collective aspirations and decisions. In some cases, they've come as a result of neglect or even willful erasure. Sometimes things left standing have simply been forgotten as taste or commercial interest or political agendas have changed over the years. In these cases, neglect might save what would have otherwise been lost. But that's our responsibility as designers, planners, preservationists, and artists to ask what's missing, what's left out of the story. That's one reason our school established a Center for the Preservation of Civil Rights Sites. Through that center, our faculty and students are teaming up with churches, volunteer groups, and other nonprofits in Philadelphia and beyond to interpret American civil rights histories and Black heritage before it's lost. So I'd like to take just a moment and just look up, just look around. This building was designed in 1929 by a Philadelphian named Julian Abel, the first African American to graduate from Penn with an architecture degree in 1902. He was recruited by Horace Turnbull, an all-white firm that built many grand residences of the most successful industrialists of the early 20th century. Therefore, he earned a reputation not only for adapting historical styles to create fine exteriors, but rendering interior spaces and its decorative details. Not only did Julian Abel design over 600 buildings, he worked skillfully with wood, ceramics, iron, copper, brass, precious metals, stained glass, and watercolors. He made furniture, jewelry, paintings, and lithograph. Today, Julian Abel is probably most famous for designing much of the East and West campuses of Duke universities, which was a little-known point of architectural history until a student there by the name of Susan Cook felt compelled to write a letter to the editor of the student newspaper about what a Black man can do to create opportunity. We imagine there were times Abel had to pass as a white man in order to practice his profession, and it's possible that that's the only way in the early 20th century he would have been allowed on Duke's campus. Abel was not the only exceptional student of his era to overcome huge obstacles. He enjoyed a deep and lasting friendship with another architecture student at Penn, a slightly older classmate by the name of Louis Magaziner. Born in Hungary, Magaziner was an infant when his parents migrated to the United States. He became the first Jewish student to graduate with an architecture degree from Penn. Magaziner worked in a succession of architects' offices before starting his own firm, and is especially beloved for his design of Art Deco theaters. 4 decades before Julian Abel went to work for Horace Turnbull, whose name is often eclipsed as the chief designer, another Philadelphia architect was making headlines. Her name was Minerva Parker Nichols, and she was the first woman in the United States to practice architecture on her own, opening her firm right here in Philadelphia in 1889. Although she didn't have the formal training of some of her male counterparts, she earned commissions for homes, social clubs, schools, churches, and factories up and down the East Coast. Minerva Parker Nichols was so successful during her lifetime and was the subject of newspaper articles across the country. Her death was reported in the New York Times obituary, and luckily for us, some 80 buildings that she designed are still standing, some just a short drive from here. Much of what we know about her is because of the determination of a young scholar named Molly Lister, who, as a student in our Department of Historic Preservation, began a decade-long mission to rescue Nichols from obscurity. Thanks to Molly and working with a team from our architectural archives and her collaborating photographer, Minerva Parker Nichols' work will no longer be forgotten. And then there's Stanislava Nowinski, or Sasha as she was known to her students. Born and raised in Poland, she earned a Master of Architecture from the Polytechnic of Warsaw. She worked on the Polish Pavilion at the 1937 International Exhibit of Modern Decorative Industrial Arts in Paris. And quite remarkable, something that she's known for as a heroine in Poland, she was one of the co-authors of rebuilding the city of Warsaw after the Second World War. In 1946, she was recruited to teach here at Penn, where she was likely one of just 2 female faculty members. She taught at Penn for over 20 years, introducing hundreds of students to design. Now, this is the time when Sasha was here, that there was also Edmund Bacon in planning, Robert Geddes, Romanol, Jurgala, Lou Kahn, Ian McCarg, Robert Venturi. The year after Nowinski's retirement, the American Institute of Architects awarded her a medal. The jury cited her for her respect of students as individuals, her emphasis on the quality of architecture, its aesthetic values and social meaning, and finally, for the profound influence on all those who have been privileged to know her as a teacher or a colleague. Which brings me to another member of our community who was deeply devoted to architecture and its aesthetic values and its social meaning. Like Nowinski, her influence was profound. Just 100 years ago, the year was obviously 1924, a young woman arrives in Philadelphia from Shanghai by way of London and Ithaca. Her name was Lin Wei Lin. At 20 years old, she had never been to the United States, but like the man who accompanied her from China, Lang Xinhing, she was passionate about architecture. A gifted writer and artist, Lin has put her studies of literature on hold to study here with Paul Kray, himself an immigrant, and a very extremely talented architect who had trained at the École des Beaux-Arts in France. As head of Penn's architectural program, Paul Kray helped many students win leading international prizes at their time. And between 1924 and 1927, Kray was lucky enough to mentor a woman that would go on to help rebuild Chinese society through architecture. When Lin learned that women were not admitted to the architecture program, it would be another 10 years before that would happen. She immersed herself in pursuing a fine arts degree and enrolled in every architecture course available to her as electives. And she's distinguished herself such that Paul Kray hired her to teach here at Penn, and then even worked for his firm. It is not impossible to do justice here to Lin's lasting impact on her homeland and the profession of architecture all over the world. So I'll let her speak for herself. In 1936, when a new Chinese law required architects to be registered, she wrote to Penn asking for certification. She writes simply, upon return to my country, I took up architecture practice with my husband and taught architectural design. I joined the Institute for Research in Chinese Architecture, of which my husband, another Penn graduate, is a director of technical studies. We take trips to the interior, making major drawings, doing comparative studies, and so forth. We have discovered many important early structures. Results of our studies are published in the Bulletin of the Institute, which we have been sending regularly to our alma mater. There are also a few monographs and books. And to this, our Dean Cole wrote to Chinese embassy in response. On the basis of her work, she should be admitted to the practice of architecture in any state or country where degrees in architecture are accepted as a qualifying part of registration. The brilliance of her scholastic record in the school was such as to give me pleasure in recommending her most highly. I doubt I could improve on that assessment. There's an old saying that behind every great man, there's a great woman, and some of us have heard it said when we were growing up. It appeared in a newspaper article about an American football star in 1946 and was used during the American women's movement. It is an imperfect way to acknowledge the unpaid work of women in raising children and supporting their male partners. Lin and Ling were both great architects. Today, Today, Lynn is not standing behind Liang. It is my pleasure to award the posthumous degree Bachelor of Architecture in Faculty to Lynn Haylin's granddaughter, Yu Q. Each year at this time, we recognize 3 distinguished members of the faculty with the G. Holmes Perkins Distinguished Teaching Award, named in honor of the architect and longtime faculty member who served as our dean from 1951 to 1971. These awards are based on nominations by the students to recognize distinguished teaching and innovation in the classroom, seminar, or studio. Our 2024 Faculty Award winners are Jamal Green, Assistant Professor in City Planning, Michael Henry, Adjunct Professor in Historic Preservation, and Rashida Ning, Presidential Associate Professor in Architecture and Chair of our Undergraduate Architecture program. And will you please stand? So I've been talking this morning about people whose, I was thinking this morning about people whose talents couldn't be confined in one single discipline. People whose vision of art and design is more inclusive and more expansive than the established norms of the disciplines they sought to join. And we have one such amazing talent with us today. Mary Miss is interested in how artists can play a more central role in addressing the complex issues of our time, in particular in making environmental and social sustainability into tangible experiences. Trained as a sculptor, she has been redefining how art is integrated into the public realm, crossing boundaries between landscape architecture, urban design, and graphic communication since the early 1970s. In the process, she has collaborated with architects, planners, engineers, ecologists, and public administrators. But her real passion, and perhaps her greatest talent, has been the involvement of everyday stewards as everyday citizens as stewards of their cities and their environments. It gives me great pleasure to welcome to the podium one of the most amazing artists of our generation, Mary Miss.
This is pretty amazing to look out and see all of you here. I really want to congratulate you, your families, this wonderful transition that you're making. And thank you for including me as part of this. It's a daunting task. I've come to it humbly, and I kind of got up my courage to do this because I was looking a couple of weeks ago at a New York Times magazine section, and it was called Beginners, and it had interviews with rock stars, actors, cooks, sports personalities, regular artists, and they were all talking about how they were beginning as they started out. And I just really found it fascinating. So I think we're all beginners. I certainly feel like I am pretty much every day when I wake up. And I hope I can share something with you this evening that will be meaningful to you in some way. The roles that you are assuming are so essential as visual thinkers. You help create art we interact with, the contexts we live in. You'll be the ones who highlight the complexities of our urban and rural landscapes, our resources, and our relationships to them. You have the potential to engage people through physical and intellectual means, but also viscerally, psychologically, and emotionally. I think the word arts is really important here. This is a big passage for you, but I have to say it's a very big passage for me as well. In a few days, I'm lucky enough to have a birthday that is so startling I can hardly believe it. You know, one of those really big decade definers. We're not talking about 50 here. Suffice it to say that I'm at the very opposite point in my life of practice from the place you are. But here I am at this point in my life when you'd think things would kind of settle out, be stable. But I've had some really shocking news come to me recently. But it seems to be a good starting place to reflect on what it means to go out in the world as a practitioner in the arts. In early December, I received a letter from the director of the Des Moines Arts Center saying that they plan to deaccession and destroy a work of mine that had been commissioned and installed almost 30 years ago. I've developed this project over a 7-year period, and it was completed in 1996. This sculptural installation, Greenwood Pond Double Site, was a piece of land art installed on a 7-acre site in a city park adjacent to the museum. It was a park designed and an artwork designed as a demonstration wetland, a way to engage urban residents of Des Moines with what lives and grows in a wetland. I figured you're out on a highway and look at something in the distance and you really don't get what it's about. But I designed it so that walking through the multiple elements that made up this project, a viewer was able to have a close-up view of how this kind of area functions in shepherding water in a landscape. This was a very important work for me. It was doing the thing that I had been talking about for a long time. It was putting an artist in the position of directly addressing our pressing environmental concerns through collaborations with scientists and community members. It was a way to engage the residents of Des Moines with these environmental issues that they faced. Flooding has caused serious damage repeatedly in that city. But it was also a way for a cultural institution to step outside of its walls and engage people who might never go to a museum. Walkways took you to different positions in the landscape. You walked on a walkway that descended into the water. There was a pavilion that you could step into and take a break or get out of the rain. There was a way to step down into the water and look out and have a frog's eye view of the water. Or a pavilion where you could get up high and look out at the birds and what was growing in the grasses around you. One reason this news was particularly upsetting to me was that Double Site was really a fulcrum between a work that I had done in the 70s and another a project that I'm working on now, City as Living Laboratory. The 70s work was the focus of an iconic essay by Rosalind Krauss, Sculpture in the Expanded Field. The project was greatly appreciated by formalists. That wasn't really my main focus. I was really interested in how this could give the viewer an experience of the relationship between the built and natural environment. It was a very important step into the expanded field of operations that I wanted to pursue. Here, a visitor encountered a number of elements over the 5-acre site, but the focal point was something that you couldn't even really see until you walked up to it. You only saw a ladder protruding out of the ground. There was an underground structure with walls on 4 sides, with doorways entering, and a passageway that went around and had a wall with apertures in the back. As you looked out through those apertures, you couldn't see anything. You could see that the land was carved out, but it was too dark to see where it ended. So this land you had just walked across, how far was it undermined? Was it like you were walking under the skin of the earth? The later work, City as Living Laboratory, CALL is the acronym we use for it, has also taken its clues directly from what I learned with Double Sight. CALL focuses on how to directly engage people on the streets in their own neighborhoods through collaborations with artists and scientists. I'll circle back to this in a moment. To say that I was shocked by the museum's totally unexpected decision to destroy a work of art is an understatement. I had a contract. It was a permanent work in the collection, and the museum specifically had taken on the mantle of maintaining the work. What happened? They said it was too hard to maintain. The materials, wood, steel, iron mesh, were too transient. The Iowa winters too harsh. That really stopped me. I had done a project along the Hudson River that withstood 9/11 and Hurricane Sandy, and it was made of the same materials. What's the big deal here? I thought the role of an art museum was to collect, care for, and display objects of cultural and artistic importance. I was very happy at the time of the commission to be considered worthy of being in a collection like this. This gives them a very significant role in defining and preserving our cultural heritage. This is the museum world some of you will have to be contending with, as well as hoping to be part of. Needless to say, this has made me consider a very important question, one that has been asked often recently. Who has cultural authority? How is it created? Which stories do we hear? What is it that we get to see? What are the consequences of these selections? I believe this situation I'm experiencing gives insight into these important topics in a very specific way. Otherwise, they can just remain generalizations. Here are some of the immediate things I was asking myself. Greenwood Pond double site has been seen by many as a prescient project in relation to climate change. Why at this point, when environmental issues are so pressing, would the museum decide to get rid of a work that deals with these issues? I also wondered, would the museum be willing to destroy the work of other land artists like Robert Smithson, Michael Heiser, or James Turrell? I don't think so. Why was a woman's work seen as being expendable? It's especially ironic to note that during the time this decision was made, there was an exhibition at the Nasher Sculpture Museum in Dallas, Groundswell, The Women of Land Art, that was really focusing on recognizing the under-recognized contributions of women artists in this field. This is the only large-scale installation of mine that a museum owns, and it was the last one that I was able to do. This was 1996. People thought it was pretty good, as well as some of the other works. It gets to be the focus of an article that everyone continues to read. Why is that the case? What has shaped the museum's decision-making and that of other institutions? Even now, I read recently, only 11% of all acquisitions at the most prominent American museums over the past decade were the work of female artists. Believe me, cultural authority is not something I took for granted as a young woman. This isn't the first time I started thinking about it. We were determined as a young woman with my friends. We were determined that the voices, experience, interests of women be reflected, not just in the art world, but in the world around us. The streets we walked on, the places we lived and worked, the furniture we used even. We wanted to explore what the word care meant for the environment and for those around us. We were interested in how to communicate these issues through direct experience, to make empathy a focus of our work. I'm sure that the feminists of the 70s influenced all of the work in the fields that you're entering. All of the work, more or less. Art, architecture, landscape, planning, preservation, yes, even mapping. So there are a number of things I think about as I reflect on this recent experience. The main one is that change occurs very, very slowly. Shifting the stories we tell, the way we shape and define the culture, is really a slow process. Another thing is that opportunities are really important. The word opportunity is the thing I'm focusing on here. Who has those opportunities, and when do they happen? If there had been other museums who did these installations, or more projects like the one along the Hudson River, would the museum have made the same decision? I believe that we are at a truly crucial shift in the art world. There is a fascinating is one way to put it, power struggle, and even a spatial struggle about where and what museums are right now. But also, there are consequences to the decisions that are made. While the men of land art tended to think of the landscape as their blank slate, many of the women working in this territory were thinking about the depth of layers, the context, and history of any place they were working. Issues of the environment were important. This is a very different narrative from the one that has prevailed, one that has been underexposed until recently. But let's step back. This is a complex story. As the feisty young feminist I was, and I guess I still am, at heart I have felt empowered to question, take on, try to reshape the stories that are told. what they are, and how we tell them. Also, part of our inheritance in the arts is to be taken as being peripheral, more like the icing on the cake. For those of us interested in the public realm and redefining it, this is not acceptable. For me, this has meant creating a path forward for myself, one that is outside the accepted boundaries of what it means to be an artist. I've taken the notion that the expanded field is a place that I really, literally want to be, doing projects that are not in the context of galleries and museums. I'm interested in work that is anchored in the world. This can have some rather strange ripples I can mention later. As the 90s and the aughts progressed, I was frustrated by the paucity of opportunity. Proposals did not move forward. Art budgets were cut. At the same time, the environmental issues that most concerned me were becoming more and more pressing. Building on double sight and other ideas I'd been developing, I started a new way of practicing. In 2009, I founded a nonprofit. An artist founding a nonprofit? I don't think so. That doesn't make sense. I still some days wake up thinking it doesn't make sense. Cydia's Living Laboratory was focusing on how to make sustainability tangible through the arts. CALL engages residents, artists, and scientists in a process of building understanding of and engagement with the most pressing environmental issues we must deal with. The artist's role is centered here. Engagement starts with the visceral experiences that art offers. Over the past decade and a half, at CALL, we have taken on several large-scale initiatives. We worked with the local community groups to advocate for the daylighting of Tippett's Brook in the Bronx. It's a stream that's in a sewer pipe and causes some of the greatest sewage overflows into the Harlem River. But guess what? This project is actually happening and is the most extensive green infrastructure project to be undertaken in New York City. Another project, Watermarks, an atlas of water for the city of Milwaukee, is an urban scale initiative we are currently working on with the support of the National Science Foundation. Artist grants are extremely small, and once I found out what the scientists were offering, and they were the people I was interested in collaborating with, you can see where I turned. We are partnering with the University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee, the city of Milwaukee, the municipal sewer district, as well as local neighborhood project teams. The stack at the edge of Lake Michigan, the stack of the water treatment plant, is being repurposed as the central beacon for the project. It's lit blue night to night, and the stack and its vapor turn red if there's a chance of a sewer overflow into Lake Michigan. And the markers in the communities pulse to alert people in the surrounding neighborhoods to cut back on their use of water. The goal is to create a network of markers through that city. They each act as Wi-Fi hotspots. They have projects by local artists. I'm coming in with a conceptual framing, but local artists are the ones who activate the sites. And they also have the stories of residents embedded in them. They're intended to be ongoing around issues of water in local neighborhoods. The goal is to make the residents of Milwaukee part of the green infrastructure. And guess what? The Natural History Museum in Milwaukee is going to have somebody as part of their outreach who will be permanently working on activating these sites. The sewer district is hiring a person to be the full-time one to oversee the project. This is becoming a project not for the city, but of the city. But to go back to Des Moines, this project is very important for local residents. With their help and the help of a local law firm, as well as a wonderful group called the Cultural Landscape Foundation, we have been able to address this situation publicly. There have been 2 hearings in federal court. I testified at the second one, along with community members, a landscape architect, and an art historian. We have something that is beginning to take shape. The judge has told the Art Center they cannot destroy the work, but he has not forced them to repair it. It's a bit of a stalemate, but for us, it's one successful step. But you can see there's still a distance to go. To go back just briefly to the museum, I was shocked to hear the attorney for the museum in her concluding statements say, this is not a photograph, this is not a drawing, this is not a painting, this is not a sculpture. Is this a work of art? They don't think so. It can't be protected by the Visual Artists' Rights Act. So far, the judge has agreed with them, but we're working on changing his mind. This may seem like a complex story, I'm telling you, of how a practice can be made. And it has been made by often very small steps. The underground structure I talked about, I did build myself, with 2 teenagers helping me. But I hope that you, from what I'm talking about, that I hope you feel that you can have the power to realize and empower yourself to take on the roles of cultural activists in whatever it is that you end up doing. Make sure that as practitioners in the art, you are seen as essential participants in envisioning the future, along with the educators, scientists, policymakers, politicians that you'll be working with. None of you can fight every issue, but some things will stand out. Connect with those. Choose what matters most. And remember that it takes collaboration, especially when you're dealing with large, important issues. There is a very big job ahead, as I think that you all realize. But what I think about is, can we create a shared cultural experience that leads to an attachment to nature and the natural systems that support our lives? We have collective imagining around sports, the players, the scores, the winners, the losers. How can we create imagining of nature and a future of sustenance? You are the ones who can help us lead us to initiate the changes that are necessary. And this need not be approached as a heavy task, but with pleasure, passion, curiosity, the territory that the imagination offers. I just want you to ask yourselves, what role will it be that you will take on? I can't wait to see what kind of things you come up with. Thank you so much for having me here this afternoon.
Thank you, Mary. Now it's my pleasure to introduce the class of 2024 student speaker, Nominated and chosen by his classmates, Diego Martin is a candidate for our Master of Architecture degree. Diego is from Lima, Peru, where he first became interested in where and how people engage with the digital and physical world. Outside his studies, he has worked as a graduate residential advisor and research assistant, focusing on housing justice in Philadelphia and supporting the Philadelphia Peace Park and the Save Chinatown Coalition. Diego?
Welcome, friends, faculty, staff, loved ones, and of course, Weitzman graduating class of 2024. We made it. As we convene here on Penn's historic campus, I would again like to take a moment to acknowledge the hundreds of thousands of people who have called this place home before we did. Not just the thousands of Penn alumni who have come before us, but also West Philadelphia residents across generations. I want to take time to acknowledge the Lenni Lenape, indigenous people and their descendants who are still here today and on whose land we now gratefully gather. One of the privileges of being the student speaker is that I get to share some final thoughts on behalf of the graduating class. These are ideas, questions, and sentiments that, in speaking with many of my classmates over the past few months, have reverberated in my mind. The themes of care, trust, gratitude, and community were the themes that stood out most, and accordingly, I'm going to try my best to convey many of them now. Firstly, I would like to take a moment to speak directly to my graduating class. I want to ask you all to take the next few minutes to ground yourselves in this pivotal moment. I want to ask you all to pause and think passionately and deliberately about what this accomplishment means for each of you. To think about all you are feeling at this time and at this place. I ask you to look around at your classmates gathered inside this room all together for the last time. Look at your professors and loved ones nearby. Take in the sights of this room, the sounds, the smells, the weight of our caps, and the texture of our gowns. Make no mistake, this is a transitory moment, one of those rare, ephemeral pieces of time that confers everything that has come before into the promise of hope for everything that lies ahead. Take a breath. And let it go. Secondly, I would like to take time to offer gratitude to the educators who selflessly helped us arrive at this moment. The educators who gave us agency over our work, challenged our worldviews, and never prioritized academic or design excellence at the expense of students' well-beings. To me, these are educators like Rashida Ng, Eduardo Rega, Richard Farley, Philip Ryan, David Moon, and Billy Faircloth. These are names of faculty who have gone above and beyond for me, but this broader collective is composed of an amazing group of scholars, researchers, industry leaders, creative pioneers, artists, visionaries, mavericks, and futurists across disciplines. In speaking with my peers, it is undoubtable that over our time at Weitzman, we have looked to this group for guidance and insights, and in return, you have tried your best to lead us down the right paths, the paths you have walked, and the paths that we someday hope to pave. As our professors, you have worked alongside us, challenged us, exasperated us at times, humbled us, but most importantly, you have cared for us. You have cultivated our curiosities and fueled our growth at times when we knew you were managing a million other priorities: professional projects, publications, research, and families, just to name a few. We acknowledge this commitment you made and kept, and we thank you. I would also like to take time to thank the families and friends of each and every graduate present here today. In the days since embarking on our Penn education, you have been around to support us through the many triumphs and failures of this academic journey. I'm sure there were times when we called you excited about some new achievement or opportunity that came our way, but there were also times when we expressed fear or doubt to you. It was during these latter times that we turned to you for solace and support. I know this wasn't always fair. We know this was an incredible thing to ask. But it was out of love that you offered us your shoulder, a coffee, maybe even a Venmo payment for food that wasn't from a can or a food truck. It is because of you that we made it here. Believe me when I say, I know that to care for a designer does not necessarily mean to always care for their work. Our field is extraordinarily labor-intensive, and it incurs a great cost. No, I'm not talking about tuition or modeling supplies, but rather the non-monetary costs, the costs which are impossible to quantify, the cost of holidays and birthdays spent apart, and often having to be mentally and emotionally present for the both of us. It is true that we students have made great sacrifices, but we recognize that you all have too. It is for this, your unwavering patience, kindness, and love that we say thank you. Graduating class, how are we feeling? Now, at the beginning of this speech, I asked you all to ground yourselves. I asked you to do this because in times of uncertainty, or when I feel like time is moving too fast, this is how I try to stabilize myself, by integrating my mind and body into what is, before preoccupying myself with what may be. However, as we know, sooner or later, we need to move forward and face this uncertainty head on. This brings me to my final point, a story I want to share with all of you about a reoccurring dream that I had in the months that followed my undergraduate graduation. Now, in this dream, I would always find myself seated in the driver's seat of my first car, a trusted black 2010 Ford Focus. I would be driving alone along some highway, but aside from these details, all other factors such as time of day, weather, and surroundings would change from instance to instance. The first time I dreamt this, I was driving at night. I was on a road that cut through an open Midwestern plain when all of a sudden, I felt my eyes starting to close. As I noticed this, I became alarmed and started actively urging myself to stay alert. Don't fall asleep, stay awake, I would repeat. However, despite my pleas, I would always inevitably reach the same point where my eyes would shut completely. Although when this happened, I remained entirely conscious of the fact that I was still behind the wheel. I just couldn't see. As my dread turned into panic, I would bring a hand up to my face and try to force my eyelids up, only to find that to my horror, both eyes would in fact still be wide open. In the few seconds before my car would veer off the road and collide with some nearby tree or cliff, I would come to the terrifying realization that I had in fact not fallen asleep, but rather I had gone blind. Of course, I would always wake up in a cold sweat, and once the fear had passed, I would calm myself by remembering this was only a dream. So why am I telling you this? Well, maybe you don't remember your dreams. Or maybe these feelings have manifested themselves for you in other ways that you don't like to talk about. Either way, it does not take someone with a degree from an Ivy League institution to understand this dream was more broadly indicative of my anxieties about the future that I felt as a recent college graduate. The same anxieties which I know are looming over many of us now. This dream represents the shift in questions that we ask ourselves as we grow personally and professionally. No longer just, who am I? But now also, where am I going? In large part, I came to Weitzman because I believed I could answer this question simply by obtaining the title that accompanies my degree. I wanted to be an architect. But the reality is that this degree does not determine my trajectory, professional or otherwise, at least not entirely. And to believe so would mean leaving so much of the value of this education as a design student on the table. You see, as design students, we have learned how to take an interest, an idea, a question, and transform it into a vision, into something compelling that has never been realized. We are visionaries. We are world builders. And with this comes a responsibility to catalyze positive change, to be stewards of landscapes that benefit the welfare of all and protect those who are most vulnerable. This is the power of our design education and the duty that accompanies it. As designers, this is the power that we hold. Our ideas incite our actions, and our actions become our legacy. Now, when I think back to this dream, it is because of my experience here at Penn that I no longer fear going blind. Because I realize that even if there comes a day when I cannot see, I will always have the power of foresight. I will still be able to look forward and envision a radical alternative, something kinder, something better. And to my graduating class, I know our anxieties about the future are completely real, but I assure you, they will not last forever. As someone who has already gone down this road, let me assure you that we are well prepared for this future journey. Now, I won't lie to you. Expect the Philly streets, potholes and all. But I promise you, there is a blue sky and a full tank of gas, a never-ending playlist and a friend, a loved one, maybe your studio partner riding shotgun by your side, there to say, hey, I'm here to navigate this with you. We're in this together. Eyes open, class of 2024. We're ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Diego. Please now join me in welcoming Mark Gardner, a Master of Architecture graduate and a member of the Weitzman Board of Advisors.
Dean Steiner, distinguished faculty and staff, graduates, family, and friends, it's truly an honor for me to speak to you today. As a member of the Board of Advisors of Penn's Stuart Weitzman School of Design, it is my pleasure to bring to you greetings from our board members and our chair, Matthew Nord. On their behalf, I offer you a collective congratulations. For the rest of your lives, you will be alumni of the University of Pennsylvania Stuart Weitzman School of Design. Whether you leave here today with a degree in architecture, environmental design, fine arts, historic preservation, landscape architecture, let me catch my breath, planning, robotics and autonomous systems. I'm going to repeat that, robotics and autonomous systems? Okay. Urban spatial analytics, I want to talk to you guys. Or a dual degree, you hold something of value. You hold the answer to a yet unasked question, or more aptly, you hold the future. So my first charge today has been discharged. Now my second charge today is a personal one, and that's what I hope for each of you. Language is an important tool and the starting point of any creative act. Language is a design tool to describe the future. It's the first thing we do as designers. Here are a few words I would recommend that you carry with you. Community, purpose, joy, care, and the important one, love. You can find communities in your discipline. You'll find communities where you live, how you identify, in the world you observe, and with the lives whom you interact. As you make, create, learn, fail, and succeed, do all of this with a purpose. We all know that there are many problems in the world, and our communities are in crisis. You and your knowledge are needed. My hope today is that each of you, in your own way, in your own time and space, takes your degree, no matter the discipline or field, and you find time to practice self-care. And then when you're ready, and only when you're ready, bring care, joy, and love to your purpose. And you bring that care, joy, and love to your communities. I want to share with you the words of the late Octavia Butler, who was a renowned African-American author who received a MacArthur grant for her body of work, including Kindred and the Parable series. In this, she channels the Greek philosopher Heraclitus, who says in the ancient Greek, pantere. I just want to add really quick for the faculty, this was not a ChatGPT speech, by the way, this is from me. He knows ancient Greek? No, I don't. Google. So Pantherae, life is flux. Everything changes. Butler writes, all that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. But kindness eases change. Love quiets fear. And a sweet and powerful, positive obsession blunts pain, diverts rage, engages each of us in the greatest, the most intense of our chosen struggles. So in closing, my hope is that you bring your communities and your creative practices together. Find your purpose, find your struggle, and practice it with authenticity, care, integrity, joy, and most importantly, love. Ashe from the Yoruba, and may these things manifest themselves for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Now, as we turn to the presentation of degrees and our first group of graduates, I have a favor to ask of friends and families here today. Please don't stand in the aisles to take pictures. I know it's tempting. We need to get our graduates up to the stage and to be recognized. We want to be as safe as possible, and that helps if you stay seated. We do have a photographer here, and probably can take better pictures than most of us. And the photographer is dedicated to getting close-up images of the action, and we'll share these on Flickr so you can get all of the pictures you need. So stay out of the aisles. It's now time to present the dual degree candidates who exemplify our school's commitment to interdisciplinary study, and they will receive their diplomas from our registrar, Emily McCulley.
Oliver James Atwood, Master of Landscape Architecture, Master of Urban Spatial Analytics, Certificate in Urban Resilience, Faculty Medal in Regional Planning. Carrick Woolham Reeder, Master of Architecture and Master of Science in Historic Preservation. Monique Jane Robinson, Master of Architecture, Master of Science in Historic Preservation. Xiangchen Wang, Master of Landscape Architecture, Master of Urban Spatial Analytics, Certificate in GIS and Spatial Analytics. Elaine E. Ning Zhang, Master of City Planning, Master of Landscape Architecture.
And now, to present the candidates for the Master of Architecture degree, please welcome Rosanna Hugh, Miller Professor and Chair of Architecture.
I am deeply honored, humbled, and proud to have you as the graduating class of my first semester here as chair. I've seen a great deal of courage, talent, intelligence, and a strong sense of social responsibility from this magnificent group of graduates. Congratulations, everyone. One of the beauties of our school is this magical capacity to transport us out of our comfort zone and connect us with another time, another place, and maybe another soul. Maybe you're from Kentucky or Peru. You come to study architecture here and meet your studio partner from Shanghai or Iran. And for your 700 studio, you travel to a far place that you've never heard of, Cappadocia in Turkey. There, you research on the cave formations from thousands of years ago, a more sustainable form of shelter than anything else you've seen. Or in your seminar, you learn about being able to build with new materials that are less destructive to our built environment, one that nurtures both human body and our planet. You find a new passion here, and you are transformed. Maybe it's building with robotics or saving Chinatown, Philadelphia. The insights we gain here may be different, but they all transform us deeply. And it's not for ourselves to be fulfilled, but more profoundly, it's so that we can transform others. We just gave a diploma to a remarkable role model, someone who took the passions that she learned here at Penn, went back to her war-torn home, and transformed an entire nation. And this is not an overstatement. Some 97 years ago, or 97 years later, Lynn is partly the reason why I'm standing here. And I think maybe some of you sitting there share the same feeling as me. It's simply unimaginable that I am connected to her story, and her transformative story is now connected to you. You are, after all, her graduating classmates. I want to leave you with a poem as an encouragement to not throw away what you have here. Do not throw away that scoop of passion from the past. Even though passion flows softly like water at the bottom of a cool mountain spring, in a pine grove on a dark night, and sighs an elusive sigh, you must still preserve that truth. The moon is still bright. The lights below the hills are still on. The sky is still full of stars, hanging like dreams. You ask for the night, whose words back? You must still believe there echoes in the valley. This was written in 1932, 5 years after Lin Huiying graduated from here. Now I'm asking our graduates to come up and receive their diploma.
Francisco Anaya Jr., Master of Architecture, recipient of the Arthur Spade Brooke Memorial Prize. Eamon Arain, Master of Architecture. Jenna Nicole Arndt, Master of Architecture, graduation with distinction. Andrew Gerard Atwood, Master of Architecture, graduation with distinction, and recipient of the Faculty Prize in Architecture. Telman Beisaglang, Master of Architecture. Anna Irene Bruce, Master of Architecture, graduation with distinction. Kira Shannon Cahill, Master of Architecture. Chunyan Tony Chen, Master of Architecture. Ming Chen, Master of Architecture, Certificate in Integrated Product Design. Sophia Chen, Master of Architecture. Ying Chen, Master of Architecture. Mitchell Cozier, Master of Architecture. Yu Ching Fei, Master of Architecture, Certificate in Ecological Architecture. Shengnan Gao, Master of Architecture. Si Yu Gao, Master of Architecture. Amy Greenberger, Master of Architecture. Sarah Nazir Halawani, Master of Architecture. Rui Chi Han, Master of Architecture. Yu Fei Hu, Master of Architecture, and recipient of the Faculty Prize. Jia Yu Huang, Master of Architecture, Certificate in Time-Based and Interactive Media. Jing Huang, Master of Architecture. Jin-Yi Huang, Master of Architecture. Grace Infante, Master of Architecture, and recipient of the Paul Philippe Cret Medal. Daniel Thomas Jerabek, Master of Architecture, graduation with distinction. Maria Joes, Master of Architecture, Certificate in Real Estate Design and Development. Amy Beth Koenig, Master of Architecture, graduation with distinction. Bohan Long, Master of Architecture, graduation with distinction. Mu Chiao Li, Master of Architecture. Yuan Yuan Lin, Master of Architecture. Song Liu, Master of Architecture, Certificate in Integrated Product Design. Liu J. Lu, Master of Architecture, Certificate in Time-Based and Interactive Media. Daniel Lutza, Master of Architecture, graduation with distinction. Ross Harrington McKenzie, Master of Architecture. Hedy Mao, Master of Architecture, Certificate in Time-Based and Interactive Media. Diego Andres Martin, Master of Architecture. Clayton Matthias Monarch, Master of Architecture, recipient of the Faculty Prize. Chiuk Ming Ing, Master of Architecture. Pamela Yu Jia Pan, Master of Architecture, Certificate in Real Estate Design and Development. Wei Jun Peng, Master of Architecture. Pete Peterson, Master of Architecture. Maitri Bharat Kumar Prajapati, Master of Architecture, Certificate in Real Estate Design and Development. Shi-Yi Chi, Master of Architecture. Wen Chin, Master of Architecture, Certificate in Integrated Product Design. Alexa Victoria Rojas, Master of Architecture, recipient of the Alpha Rho Chi Medal. Rachel Marie Cito, Master of Architecture. Chen Xin Shao, Master of Architecture, Certificate in Integrated Product Design. Clara Shim, Master of Architecture. Zhenqing Shao, Master of Architecture. Xiaoji Song, Master of Architecture. Ji Xuan Song, Master of Architecture, Certificate in Integrated Product Design. Chen Su, Master of Architecture. Yu Hong Tao, Master of Architecture. Marjorie Tello Wong, Master of Architecture. Kang Nok Truong, Master of Architecture, and recipient of the Cantor Trich Prize in Energy and Architectural Innovation. Hei Wei Valerie Say, Master of Architecture, graduation with distinction, Certificate in Integrated Product Design. Wen Liu Tu, Master of Architecture. Ray Feng Wang, Master of Architecture, graduation with distinction, Certificate in Integrated Product Design. Wei Wang, Master of Architecture, Certificate in Time-Based and Interactive Media. Xiaomian Wang, Master of Architecture. Courtney Ann Ward, Master of Architecture, graduation with distinction, recipient of the Arthur Spade Brooke Memorial Prize. Sophie Voidalevich, Master of Architecture, Certificate in Time-Based and Interactive Media. David Ka-Wei Wang, Master of Architecture. Douglas Wang, Master of Architecture. Jessica Wang, Master of Architecture, graduation with distinction. Xiao Boyu, Master of Architecture. Cheyenne Yamada, Master of Architecture. Si Ki Yao, Master of Architecture, Certificate in Integrated Product Design. Jun Yue, Master of Architecture, Certificate in Integrated Product Design. Charlene Ulita, Master of Architecture, graduation with distinction, Certificate in Integrated Product Design. Yan Zheng, Master of Architecture, Certificate in Integrated Product Design. Peng Hui Zhang, Master of Architecture. Shen Yi Zhang, Master of Architecture, Certificate in Integrated Product Design. Yi Chung Zhang, Master of Architecture. Yu Yang Zhang, Master of Architecture. Reggie Lu Chi Zhao, Master of Architecture. Jia Yao Zhao, Master of Architecture. Xia Yu Zhao, Master of Architecture, Certificate in Integrated Product Design. Vicky Zhang, Master of Architecture. Lucy Zhang, Master of Architecture, Certificate in Integrated Product Design. Roxanne Zhou, Master of Architecture. Li Chen Zhu, Master of Architecture.
Congratulations, Master of Architecture candidates. And thank you, Rosanna. Here to present the Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design, is Professor of Architecture, Ali Rahim.
Hey guys, nice to see you after a long time. I'm sure you don't miss us. Dear graduates of the class of 2024, congratulations. Today, as we celebrate your achievements, let's also reflect on the incredible journey you've undertaken in the Master of Science in Design Advanced Architecture Design program. Your resilience, creativity, and dedication have been nothing short of inspiring, and I'm honored to witness your transformation into the architects of tomorrow. Over the course of 3 semesters, spanning from August 2022 to August 2023, you immersed yourselves in a comprehensive exploration of advanced architectural design principles. From mastering conceptual frameworks to refining design techniques and understanding intricate building assembly methods, you've navigated a rigorous academic landscape with grace and determination. One of the highlights of your journey was the in-depth exploration of design research, particularly focused on the dynamic urban landscape of New York City. Your investigations into the stock exchange and the financial district showcased your analytical prowess and illuminated the symbiotic relationship between architecture and finance, paving the way for innovative solutions and future-forward design thinking. In addition to your academic pursuits, you embraced experiential learning opportunities that took you across the globe, from immersive travel experiences in Dubai and Mexico City to the scholarly examination of Moorish architecture in Spain. You expanded your cultural horizons and gained invaluable insights into the diverse tapestry of global design practices. Your final semester was marked by the meticulous design and fabrication of building facades, where you tested the boundaries of traditional architectural practice with cutting-edge fabrication techniques such as robotics, CNC milling, and laser cutting. The result? A showcase of ingenuity, creativity, and technical expertise that exemplifies the transformative power of design. As you prepare to embark on the next chapter of your journey, remember the lessons learned, the challenges overcome, and the friendships forged along the way. Armed with a wealth of knowledge, a spirit of innovation, and a commitment to excellence, you're well equipped to make a lasting impact on the world around you. On behalf of the faculty, I commend you for your achievements, your perseverance, and your unwavering dedication to your craft. The future of architecture is in your hands, and I have every confidence that you will rise to the occasion with passion, creativity, and a relentless pursuit of excellence. Congratulations.
Bhavna Priya Balasubramanian, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design, graduation with distinction, recipient of the MSD AAD Prize in Design Excellence, runner-up. Sui Ling Chen, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design. Yu Tao Chen, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design. Jia Feng Di, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design. Shi Jin Ding, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design. Sheng Danny Fong, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design. Yi Wen Gu, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design. Sherry Lee, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design, graduation with distinction. Hao Ran Luo, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design. Yifan Liu, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design, graduation with distinction. Wen Tao Pan, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design. Jingshang Chao, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design. Yong Song, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design. Dao Wu, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design, recipient of the MSD AAD Prize in Design Excellence, first place, graduation with distinction. Qian Amy Wu, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design, graduation with distinction, runner-up for the MSD AAD Prize in Design Excellence. Shuang Wu, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design. Mu Yi Shu, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design. Yang Di, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design. Feng Chao Yang, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design. Nai Ding Yao, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design. Chen Yi, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design. Hua Wei Yu, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design. Chengji Zhang, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design, graduation with distinction. Jiamin Zhang, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design, graduation with distinction. Yiyue Zheng, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design. Xiaojun Zhou, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design. Panjing Zhu, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design. Yixing Zhu, Master of Science in Design, Advanced Architectural Design.
Congratulations, MSD AAD candidates, and thank you, Allie. Here to present the candidates for the Master of Science in Design, Environmental Building Design, and Master in Environmental Building Design is Professor of Architecture, Bill Braun.
Thank you, Fritz, and you guys made it. There are 2 degrees in environmental building design, a 2-semester MEBD and a 3-semester MSD EBD. Both are designed to train architects in the new skills and knowledge required for environmental design, and especially in the techniques with which those skills must be integrated into the practice of architecture. The course of study includes coursework on environmental accounting, building performance simulation, integrated building design, building envelopes and systems, lighting, daylighting, and the theory and practice of environmental design, all of which are synthesized in a sequence of design studios based on bioclimatic design principles. It's a lot. I like to think that the EBD graduates are today's avant-garde. They're exploring the future of architecture in the Anthropocene, that geologic period that we're now experiencing, which is dominated by the effects of human activities. And so they're about to launch on, they're about to start providing the foundation for mitigating and adapting to the conditions of a changing climate. I wrestle with climate despair, but each class gives me more hope for our collective future. So rather than say, congratulations, I'm going to say, thank you for undertaking this work.
Hemant Dialani, Master of Science in Design, Environmental Building Design. Dishanka Kannan, Master of Science in Design, Environmental Building Design. Ning-Shu Luo, Master of Science in Design, Environmental Building Design. Li Pan, Master of Science in Design, Environmental Building Design, Certificate in Energy Management and Policy. Ming Yan, Master of Science in Design, Environmental Building Design, graduation with distinction. Chenika Das, Master in Environmental Building Design. Sonakshi Sharma, Master in Environmental Building Design. Gabriela Toscano, Master in Environmental Building Design. Chi Xie, Master in Environmental Building Design.
Congratulations, EBDs, and thank you, Bill. Here to present the candidates for probably the longest named degree that we have. The Master of Science in Design, Robotics and Autonomous Systems is Professor of Architecture Robert Stewart Smith.
Thank you, Dean Steiner. Graduates, family, and friends, it is with great pleasure that I present to you the Masters of Science in Design, Robotics and Autonomous Systems students as conferred by the Faculty of Architecture. The degree explores robotics and AI-based technologies as integral contributors to architectural design and production. Our students aim to develop novel approaches to the design, manufacture, and life cycle of architecture, which they demonstrate through the production of impressive, robotically fabricated, full-scale prototypes, some of which you might have seen on campus. Students, congratulations on your achievements. You entered the program from diverse backgrounds and worked together harmoniously and creatively, setting a timely and inspiring example for which we are very proud of. This year, you learned so much while producing pioneering research with great success. As MSD RAS graduates, you're well equipped for our rapidly evolving world and have the agency to make a difference. I cannot wait to see the impact each of you will have on architecture, design and construction, and the world at large. Everyone, please join me in congratulating the RAS class of 2024.
Claudia Camposano, Master of Science in Design, Robotics and Autonomous Systems, graduation with distinction. Andres Feng Qian, Master of Science in Design, Robotics and Autonomous Systems, recipient of the MSD RAS Prize for Design and Robotic Fabrication. Ridharth Jain, Master of Science in Design, Robotics and Autonomous Systems. Ejem Karudaman, Master of Science in Design, Robotics and Autonomous Systems. Young Meng, Master of Science in Design, Robotics and Autonomous Systems. Zai Shi, Master of Science in Design, Robotics and Autonomous Systems, graduation with distinction, recipient of the MSD RAS Prize for Design and Robotic Fabrication. Toto Tan, Master of Science in Design, Robotics and Autonomous Systems, recipient of the MSD RAS Prize for Design and Robotic Fabrication. Shania Kaleon Turner, Master of Science in Design, Robotics and Autonomous Systems, graduation with distinction. Si Jie Wang, Master of Science in Design, Robotics and Autonomous Systems. Kei-Jo Yukun Jong, Master of Science in Design, Robotics and Autonomous Systems, recipient of the MSD RAS Prize for Design and Robotic Fabrication.
Degree title is a bit long, but RAS is really, really a cool degree. So congratulations, RASes, and thank you, Rob. Presenting the candidates for the Master of City Planning degree is Lisa Servon, the Kevin and Erica Penn Presidential Professor and Chair of City and Regional Planning.
Nice. Let me hear you make some noise, folks. We get competitive in city planning. Good evening, everyone. I am so honored to address those of you who are graduating, your friends, family, loved ones, and peers. Commencement is always an emotional day for me, but this one is especially hitting me hard because it's my last one as chair of the department. Aw. Don't worry, you're in good hands. But I've been doing a lot of reflecting lately, as one does, during moments of transition, which you all are into, and the one word that keeps coming up for me is hope. So one of the privileges of being department chair is that I begin to get to know you at the very beginning of your journey, when you submit your applications. And I witness your growth all the way through to this day. And when I read your applications to attend our program 2 years ago, or a little longer for some of you, they were filled with hope. You might not have used that word in what you wrote, but you had identified problems in the world that you couldn't abide and you wanted to be a part of the change. I mean, let's face it, no one gets a degree in city and regional planning to become rich or famous. Those were not the reasons you chose to come here, and I also can't imagine anyone getting this degree who is not hopeful. So much of what you've done during your time here, whether you've been figuring out how to make our streets safer, our cities more adaptable to climate change, or our public spaces more welcoming for everyone, has been rooted in hope. Take another look at the work and display in Meyerson Hall when you return there after the ceremony. Hope is everywhere on those walls. Even protest, maybe especially protest, is an expression of hope. I mean, why would anybody... Why would anybody put their body and the future on the line if they thought things couldn't change? Now, what we are protesting against or hoping for might be different, and our disagreements may be strong, but I choose to focus on the hope that is at the heart of it all. We do have a choice about what we pay attention to, and I choose to pay attention to hope. I'd like to read a short passage from a book called Hope in the Dark by one of my favorite authors, Rebecca Solnit. She writes, "To hope is to gamble. It's to bet on the future, on your desires, on the possibility that an open heart and uncertainty are better than gloom and safety. Hope is not a lottery ticket you can sit on the sofa and clutch, feeling lucky. Hope is an axe you break down doors with in an emergency, because hope should shove you out the door, because it will take everything you have to steer the future away from an endless war, from the annihilation of the earth's treasures and the grinding down of the poor and marginal. Hope just means another world might be possible, not promised, not guaranteed. Hope calls for action. Action is impossible without hope. My wish for you as you leave us and begin your next stage is that you hold on to the hope that brought you here in the first place, that you cultivate it actively. Congratulations.
Brooke Acosta, Master of City Planning. Travion Isaiah Ambrose, Master of City Planning, Certificate in Urban Redevelopment, and recipient of the AICP Outstanding Student Award. Shreya Bansal, Master of City Planning. Bailey William Bradford, Master of City Planning, recipient of the Bruce J. Hanson Award, Department of City and Regional Planning Special Award for Excellence in Student Publications. Jing E. Tsai, Master of City Planning. Teresa Ting Shen Chong, Master of City Planning. Ling Chen, Master of City Planning, Certificate in GIS and Spatial Analytics. Tao Chen, Master of City Planning. Tianxiao Chen, Master of City Planning. Stephanie Ka Yi Ching, Master of City Planning. Devin John Chodson, Master of City Planning, and recipient of the Anne Louise Strong Leadership Award. Michael Dunst, Master of City Planning. Jose Ignacio Fernandez III, Master of City Planning. Laura Francis, Master of City Planning, recipient of the Smart Cities Award. Roshni Ganesh, Master of City Planning. Sha-Yun Shen Gao, Master of City Planning, Certificate in GIS and Spatial Analytics. Shefali Gupta, Master of City Planning, Certificate in Energy Management and Policy. Katie Hanford, Master of City Planning, recipient of the Department of City and Regional Planning Special Award for Excellence in Student Publications, as well as the Paul Davidoff Award. Chung Lin Hu, Master of City Planning. Jared Everett Jackson, Master of City Planning, Certificate in Real Estate Design and Development. Adriana Jenkins, Master of City Planning, Certificate in Real Estate Design and Development. Adriana Jenkins, Master of City Planning, Certificate in Real Estate Design and Development. Suzanne Naomi Kazar, Master of City Planning. Kamya Kandowal, Master of City Planning. Samrithi Kare, Master of City Planning. Mansha Kohli, Master of City Planning. Sydney Alexander Costers, Master of City Planning, recipient of the Bruce J. Hanson Award. Jackson Paradise Lasarso, Master of City Planning, Certificate in Real Estate Design and Development. Hong E. Lee, Master of City Planning, Certificate in Integrated Product Design. Jahong Lee, Master of City Planning. Shu-Ting Lee, Master of City Planning, Certificate in Landscape Studies, and recipient of the David Crane Award. Enan Lee, Master of City Planning. Yue Chi Tiffany Liu, Master of City Planning, Certificate in GIS and Spatial Analytics. Sophie Tico Maas, Master of City Planning. Leah Martins Krasner, Master of City Planning. Francis Murray, Master of City Planning. Alexander Leland Nelms, Master of City Planning, Master of Urban Spatial Analytics. Marcus Owens, Master of City Planning. Amelia Park, Master of City Planning, recipient of the Anne Louise Strong Leadership Award. Lauren Ann Pulowski, Master of City Planning. Alec Robert Pompeo, Master of City Planning. Alexa Ringer, Master of City Planning, Certificate in Energy Management and Policy. Brenna Schmidt, Master of City Planning. Jaden Schultz, Master of City Planning. Anushka Samant, Master of City Planning. Kathleen Claire Scopus, Master of City Planning. Vanya Shrivastava, Master of City Planning, Certificate in Real Estate Design and Development. Naomi Tariku, Master of City Planning. Brianna Anita Thornhill, Master of City Planning, Certificate in Real Estate Design and Development, and recipient of the Brian C. West Award. Michelle Tran, Master of City Planning. Delfina Vildasola, Master of City Planning. Leo Wagner, Master of City Planning. Chan Yu Wei, Master of City Planning. Avery Weiss, Master of City Planning. Si-Han Shu, Master of City Planning. Yi Ming Yan, Master of City Planning. Yang Yang, Master of City Planning, Certificate in GIS and Spatial Analytics. Yuan Hao Zhai, Master of City Planning. Zhao Yan Bin, Master of City Planning. Kei Chao, Master of City Planning. Chen Si Ju, Master of City Planning. Jonathan Franklin Zisk, Master of City Planning, recipient of the C. Britton Harris Award, Department of City and Regional Planning Special Award for Excellence in Student Publications, and the Witt Sakamoto Family Honorable Mention in City and Regional Planning. Lee Uke, Master of City Planning, Certificate in Real Estate Design and Development.
Well, congratulations, hopeful and joyful MCPs. And thank you, Lisa. Here to present the candidates for the Master of Urban Spatial Analytics degree is Associate Professor of City and Regional Planning, Elizabeth Demel.
Thank you and good evening. The Master of Urban Spatial Analytics program trains students to use data and technology to inform location-based public policy decisions across a host of applications. from predicting hourly demand for bikes at bike share stations to optimizing the multimodal transporting of carbon capture, from predicting land use changes using satellite imagery to mapping the nation's pickleball infrastructure. In 9 short months, students are plunged into the fundamentals of spatial data science, including coursework on statistics, machine learning, coding, and data visualization. The knowledge gained during this intense degree program can only be described as seismic, a fact that became evident on a recent early Friday morning when all at once it all seemed to click. The difference between specificity and sensitivity finally became clear when confusion matrices were no longer confusing, when that hidden bug in the code finally revealed itself, and when the map projection issue causing Philadelphia to appear on top of Russia was finally resolved. At that collective moment, the walls of Meyerson Hall literally began to shake, and celestial bodies nearly aligned. Perhaps you all felt it too. Thank you. To the students, I hope now, as you reflect on this journey, you are thinking to yourselves, in the words of Taylor Swift, I could build a castle out of all of the bricks they threw at me. So please go out and build castles. We cannot wait to see what you do in the world.
Richard Zlotsky Barad, Master of Urban Spatial Analytics. Marissa Alexis Renee Cruz, Master of Urban Spatial Analytics. David Drennan, Master of Urban Spatial Analytics. Alyssa Lynette Felix Areola, Master of Urban Spatial Analytics.
That's my whole girl!
Javier Fernandez, Master of Urban Spatial Analytics. Gabriel Hernandez Dominguez, Master of Urban Spatial Analytics. Alexander J. Jacobs, Master of Urban Spatial Analytics. June Jagal, Master of Urban Spatial Analytics. Trevor Capoveri, Master of Urban Spatial Analytics. Jing-E Lee, Master of Urban Spatial Analytics. Xiaofan Liu, Master of Urban Spatial Analytics. Jonathan Manarung, Master of Urban Spatial Analytics. Timothy Christopher Oliver, Master of Urban Spatial Analytics, recipient of the Ken Stife Award. Sihan Ren, Master of Urban Spatial Analytics.
Congratulations, Musas, and thanks, Elizabeth. Here to present our candidates for the Master of Fine Arts is Ken Lum, the Marilyn Jordan Taylor Presidential Professor and Chair of Fine Arts.
Like Lisa Servon, this is also my final year as chair, and I could not be more delighted to have my final year congratulate in person this remarkable class of Master of Fine Arts graduates. I think this is the strongest, most greatest class I've ever encountered in almost four decades. And before you think otherwise, it's not something I say every year. Okay. One of the great things about being, maybe the greatest thing about being a professor of art, is that just when the problems of the world, the challenges of the world starts to infiltrate into my body, and I start to despair, I just have to think about the students. And writ large, I want to include everyone here, all the graduating students, but especially the fine arts students, because I work with them, because they remind me of the importance of art, the indispensability of art, why art matters to many, many things, including architecture and landscape architecture, city planning, and preservation. And they remind me of the ideals of art that motivated me as a young person once to get into art. So that's a kind of a selfish reason, but it's one of the great pleasures of being a professor of art. So congratulations to the graduating MFA cohort. Your dedication and hard work have brought you to this moment. And today marks the start of what I hope will be endless opportunities for you. So on behalf of the Department of Fine Arts, I express my heartfelt wishes for your continuing success and a future brimming with happiness and fulfillment. Godspeed to you.
Jordana Perry Bernstein, Master of Fine Arts. Cooper Campbell, Master of Fine Arts, recipient of the Halpern Rogath Award. Yu Young Chen, Master of Fine Arts. Gita Dalol, Master of Fine Arts, recipient of the Halpern Rogath Award. Jaewon Gu, Master of Fine Arts, and recipient of the Halpern Rogath Independent Travel Award. Taeran Hao, Master of Fine Arts. Rihanna Jacobson, Master of Fine Arts, Master of Social Work, recipient of the Halpern Rogath Independent Travel Award. Ga Young Lee, Master of Fine Arts, recipient of the Halpern Rogath Independent Travel Award. Victoria Antoinette Meegans, Master of Fine Arts, and recipient of the Halpern Rogath Independent Travel Award. Erin Mackenzie Morris, Master of Fine Arts, recipient of the Lawrence Sprintz MFA Award. Alicia Riccio, Master of Fine Arts, recipient of the Halpern Rogath Independent Travel Award. Marta Rodriguez Malik, Master of Fine Arts, recipient of the Christopher Leland Lyon Memorial Fund Award. Gabriel O'Quinn Seaman, Master of Fine Arts, recipient of the Halpern Rogath Independent Travel Award. Emily Page Slater, Master of Fine Arts, recipient of the Halpern Rogath Independent Travel Award. Catching on Thieves, Master of Fine Arts, recipient of the Charles Adams Memorial Prize. Dee Tian, Master of Fine Arts. Jae Ming Tsai, Master of Fine Arts. Jacob Weinberg, Master of Fine Arts.
Congratulations, MFAs. That was the first time Ken said that. So thank you, Ken. To present the candidates for the Master of Science in Historic Preservation and the Master of Science in Design with a concentration in Historic Preservation, Here's Frank Matero, the Gonick Family Professor of Architecture and Chair of the Graduate Program in Historic Preservation.
Okay. Are you ready? Okay, without pretext or preface, let's give out some degrees, shall we? Okay, Dean Steiner, it's my honor and privilege on behalf of the faculty in Historic Preservation to give this degree to the graduating class for the Master of Science in Historic Preservation.
Olivia Hunt Brogan, Master of Science in Historic Preservation. Ji Wen Fan, Master of Science in Historic Preservation and recipient of the Anthony Nicholas Brady Garvin Award for an outstanding thesis. Wei Lin Fu, Master of Science in Historic Preservation. Arden Jordan, Master of Science in Historic Preservation, recipient of both the Anthony Nicholas Brady Garvin Award for an outstanding thesis and the Faculty Award for outstanding academic achievement. Megan Mizuki Carney, Master of Science in Historic Preservation, Certificate in Real Estate Design and Development, and recipient of both the Elizabeth Green Wiley Award for Outstanding Promise and the Anthony Nicholas Brady Garvin Award for an outstanding capstone. Anusha Prashant Kansaheb, Master of Science in Historic Preservation, recipient of the Elizabeth Green Wiley Award for Outstanding Promise. Jing-E Lee, Master of Science in Historic Preservation. Jing-E Luo, Master of Science in Historic Preservation, recipient of the Charles E. Peterson Award. Mushtaba Safarian, Master of Science in Historic Preservation, recipient of the Dawn and Brian Gonick Architectural Conservation Professional Development Fund Award. Kayla Kalani Saunders, Master of Science in Historic Preservation, recipient of the Elizabeth Green Wiley Award for Outstanding Promise. Kyla Kalani Saunders, Master of Science in Historic Preservation, recipient of the Elizabeth Green Wiley Award for Outstanding Promise. Agatha Sloboda, Master of Science in Historic Preservation and recipient of the Elizabeth Green Wiley Award for Outstanding Promise. Cece Wong, Master of Science in Historic Preservation. Paridi Goel, Master of Science in Design, Historic Preservation.
Congrats to the graduates of the Department of Historic Preservation, and thank you, Frank. To present the candidates for the Master of Landscape Architecture is Catherine Sievett, the Meyerson Professor of Urbanism and Chair of the Department of Landscape Architecture.
Good evening, everyone. Let me be the first and the next to offer a huge congratulations to our magnificent Master of Landscape Architecture graduates, the class of 2024. It is truly my honor to be with all of you and with so many of your family members and loved ones who have supported you along this journey as we at the Weitzman School of Design and the department celebrate this extraordinary accomplishment in your lives. 2024. This marks an exciting year in the history of the Department of Landscape Architecture. 100 years ago, in 1924, our department was established at the University of Pennsylvania with Robert Wheelwright as its chair. This may be just my first year, but you are indeed a centennial class. What happened in 1924? We learned about the arrival of Lin Huyin here at the University of Pennsylvania. I looked up a few more things. W.E.B. Du Bois published The Gift of Black Folk, and Sarah Bernhardt wrote The Art of the Theater. André Breton launched his Surrealist Manifesto. Agatha Christie wrote The Man in the Brown Suit. E.M. Forster wrote A Passage to India. Jimmy Carter and James Baldwin were born. Franz Kafka and Joseph Conrad died. The Chilean poet Pablo Neruda, then 19 years old, published a collection entitled 20 Love Poems and a Song of Despair. It remains the best-selling poetry book in the Spanish language. In his poem Isla Negra, he writes of his home island. Rapture of the rivers, banks of thicket and fragrance, sudden boulders, burnt-out trees, and land, ample and lonely. Land is homeland, land is memory, ancestral Lenape homeland, Huron-Kississing, the place of large shells. Land is adopted, and land is cared for. Land, indeed, is our medium as landscape architects. We literally have the capacity, knowledge, and skills to transform and change the earth. What an extraordinary time to be a landscape architect, and how extraordinary for you to be a graduate of this Weitzman Program of Study in Landscape Architecture. We are recognized internationally for our ecological approach for the design of urban landscapes, public works, and public spaces. The landscape connects environmental and social justice to equitable design for all. Dear Master of Landscape Architecture graduates, for whom soil, land, and topography constitute our critical tools of placemaking and publicness, the ground itself is vibrant matter, vibrant with life and rich in memories, some joyful, some extraordinarily painful. We charge you to aspire to connect with all beings, human and more than human, as well as generations past, present, and future in your work. We, the faculty, entrust you, our graduates, to actively shape the earth, to reshape places and publics, and to help communities thrive and heal. We are so proud of your many accomplishments here at Weitzman, and I look forward to your work to come. Do one thing at a time. Learn to listen. Say it simple, and most importantly, go forth and dare mighty things. Congratulations, mighty class of 2024.
Martha Evelyn Ash, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Urban Design, recipient of the Faculty Acknowledgement Award for Design Progress. Joanny Bonilla Jimenez, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Ecological Planning, recipient of the George Madden Boughton Prize and the American Society of Landscape Architecture Certificate of Merit. Yuan Yi Sen, Master of Landscape Architecture. Michelle Seal-Young Chan, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Ecological Planning, Certificate in Urban Design, and recipient of the Narendra Juneja Medal, as well as the American Society of Landscape Architecture Certificate of Honor. Wing Man Chu, Master of Landscape Architecture. Kwan Yu Chung, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Urban Resilience, recipient of the Robert M. Hanna Prize in Design, as well as the American Society of Landscape Architecture Certificate of Merit. Sarah Evantash, Master of Landscape Architecture. Nina Genevieve Lareca, Master of Landscape Architecture. Ela LeBrew, Master of Landscape Architecture. Sneha K, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Ecological Planning, recipient of the John Dixon Hunt Prize in History, Theory, and Criticism. Zitong Huang, Master of Landscape Architecture. Shai-Yun Hu, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Integrated Product Design. Jai-Wen Hu, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in GIS and Spatial Analytics, recipient of the Faculty Acknowledgement Award for Experimentation and Innovation. Shu Yan He, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Integrated Product Design. Mira Alexander Hart, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Urban Resilience. Yi Ding Han, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Urban Design. Saloni Chadha, Master of Landscape Architecture. Solomon Ji Xuan Kuo, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Time-Based and Interactive Media. Yuan Xiao Fu, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Urban Resilience. Hazel E. Meng Sun, Master of Landscape Architecture. Charlie Stewart, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Ecological Architecture. Caroline Elizabeth Scholler, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Ecological Planning, and recipient of the Ian L. McHarg Prize, as well as the American Society of Landscape Architecture Certificate of Merit. Keith McNamara Scheidler, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Ecological Planning. Rachita Saxena, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Urban Design. Lucy Salwen, Master of Landscape Architecture, Faculty Acknowledgement Award for Design Progress. Hassan Saeed Salim, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Urban Resilience, and the Faculty Acknowledgement Award for Service. Ruth Penberthy, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Urban Resilience, and recipient of the Faculty Medal in Landscape Architecture. Maura Grace McDaniel, Master of Landscape Architecture, and recipient of the Ian L. McHarg Prize, as well as the American Society of Landscape Architecture Certificate of Honor. Gunai Mamadova, Master of Landscape Architecture. C.E. Liu, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Urban Design. Xin-Yu Liu, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Urban Design, and recipient of the Eleanor T. Weidenmeyer Prize in Landscape and Urbanism. Zi Cheng Zhao, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Urban Design, recipient of the Laurie D. Olin Prize in Landscape Architecture, as well as the American Society of Landscape Architecture Certificate of Honor. Ying Zhang, Master of Landscape Architecture. Josh Wei, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Urban Resilience. Wei Xia, Master of Landscape Architecture. Yi Ning Zhu, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Urban Resilience, Faculty Acknowledgement Award for Service. Zhou Wang, Master of Landscape Architecture. Yodra Wang, Master of Landscape Architecture. Jarchen Swen, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Time-Based and Interactive Media. Alexis Sterling Tadori, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Real Estate Design and Development, as well as a Certificate in Urban Design. Kina Voles, Master of Landscape Architecture, Certificate in Time-Based and Interactive Media. Sheju Tian, Master of Landscape Architecture.
Thank you, Catherine, and congratulations to the MLA candidates. We now turn to our last group of graduates, our doctoral candidates. Hooding the candidates for the PhD in architecture is Franca Tubiano, an associate professor of architecture and the chair of our graduate group in architecture.
Thank you, Dean Steiner, speakers Miss and Martine, graduates, alums, families, friends, and faculty colleagues. It's with great pleasure that I present to you the 2024 graduates of the Doctorate of Architecture. Now, this degree represents the highest honor conferred by the University of Pennsylvania. It's administered by the faculty of the graduate group in architecture, and students in the PhD program pursue the most advanced research and scholarship in the discipline of architecture. Now, this degree was first created today it's all about anniversaries and important dates. Well, it was first created in 1964, and hence it is the oldest such program in the country. Indeed, this upcoming academic year, we celebrate our 60th anniversary, and we have much to celebrate. Now, for more than half a century, Penn has graduated eminent scholars in the history and theory of architecture. Their award-winning publications are recognized throughout the world, and as directors, chairs, and university deans, they have actively redefined how we educate architects in the 21st century. Every day, our history and theory faculty remind us to be historically aware, critical in thought, and actively engaged. But that's not enough. As the leading innovator in the space of architectural technology, the UPenn doctoral program in architecture is home to brilliant and impassioned faculty pursuing research in biomaterials, thermal architecture, environmental design, digital fabrication, and even structural computation. In less than a decade, they have garnered international awards, published prolifically, and participated in impressive interdisciplinary funded research. Well, no other doctoral program in architecture in the United States can boast the richness of this expertise. Its faculty and students leave no stone unturned, seeking excellence in all that they do. Now, our students come to us from all over the world, and we are honored by their knowledge and their vision. We are certainly bettered for the time that they spend with us. Now, for each student, the PhD is a journey. They're aided and supported certainly by Penn faculty, colleagues, family, and friends. However, completing the coursework, taking exams, and writing a dissertation represents their commitment to a singular, rigorous project, one that is defined, structured, executed, and defended by each student over a period of, on average, 5 to 6 years. Students complete PhDs to advance funded research, to better a community of scholars, to empower others with knowledge, even to instill a passion for the discipline, to participate in the art of teaching, and certainly to make the world and its built environment a better place. But in the end, that journey is theirs. And while it might be a journey of discovery, enlightenment, and joy, it is not without its struggles and its trials. And for this, we truly celebrate their accomplishments today. Dean Steiner, I present to you our Doctors of Architecture. We will begin our hooding ceremony by celebrating Dr. Mustafa Akbari, whose dissertation is entitled Design and Fabrication of Cellular Funicular Structures. At this time, I'd like to invite Mustafa's dissertation supervisor, Dr. Masoud Akbarzadeh, to assist in the hooding ceremony. The dissertation set out to design a novel methodology for optimized architectural structures while developing a comprehensive method to automate the fabrication of these structures using 4D printing. Dr. Akbari will begin a tenure-track faculty position in the School of Architecture in the United States in the fall, where he will teach and conduct research on computational design and advanced manufacturing. He aspires to positively impact architecture by optimizing design and fabrication on a very large scale, contributing to a more sustainable future. Congratulations, Dr. Akbari. Next, we welcome Dr. Wada Al-Mutawa. Dr. Wada had a number of projects that she oversaw over the last 5 to 6 years. Dr. Al-Mutawa. Dr. Al-Mutawa's dissertation is entitled The Child in the City, Play, Architecture and Urbanism in Modern Kuwait from 1957 to 1983. The dissertation redefines our understanding of progressive spaces for children and families and examines how concepts of collaboration and identity were exchanged between the Middle East and the West and back. Dr. Al-Mutawa will be an assistant professor at Kuwait University, teaching and conducting research on play spaces and environments for children in Kuwait. She aspires to be a loving and supportive mother and contributing to the creation of urban spaces that meet the needs of children, returning our cities to their rightful owners, the children. Congratulations, Dr. Al-Mutawa. And I have the pleasure of hooding Wada as her dissertation supervisor. Our next recipient is Dr. Shaika Ali Al-Shahali. Yes. Dr. Al-Shahali's dissertation is titled Art, Science, and Construction, Exploring the Boundaries of Modern Architecture in the Arabic Context, the work of Saeed Karim and Rifat Chatterjee. Unfortunately, Dr. Al-Shahali could not be with us this evening, but we celebrate her and her work in Kuwait City, Kuwait. Our next recipient is Dr. Anwar Basimbul. Dr. Basenbul's dissertation is entitled The Integration of Structures, Climate Dynamics, and Occupant Thermal Behavior in the Hijazi Traditional Architecture of Saudi Arabia. At this time, I invite Dr. Bill Braham to assist in the hooding ceremony. The dissertation explores the relationship between thermal behaviors, architectural design, and climatic conditions in Jeddah's hot, humid climate, uncovering how traditional Hijazi architecture successfully maintained thermal comfort without modern air conditioning. Dr. Basenbul is assistant professor in the Architectural Engineering Department at the University of Building and Technology in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, where she teaches and conducts research on environmental design. She aspires to be a dedicated educator in sustainable architectural practices that contribute to environmental resilience. Congratulations, Dr. Basenbul. Our next recipient is Dr. Spavit Darthan Ramkul. The title of his dissertation is Challenging Orthodoxy, Facade Ideas in the Work of Louis Kahn and Robert Venturi, Friends of Philadelphia. Dr. Darthan Ramkul cannot be with us this evening, but we celebrate him in his work in Thailand. Our next recipient is Dr. Sangpil Lee. The title of his dissertation is Expanded Environments, Isozaki Arata and Hans Hollein, Architects of the City and Urban Media in the First Electronic Age, 1955 to 1976. At this time, I invite Sangpil's dissertation committee member, Dr. Zhang Jilin, to assist in the hooding ceremony. I'll just keep going. The dissertation explores the endeavors of post-war architects to create new living environments in response to novel, contemporary modes of thinking, notably cybernetics, Gestalt psychology, and Marshall McLuhan's media theory. Dr. Lee continues his teaching in the Department of Architecture at Kennesaw State University in Marietta, Georgia, and as an architectural historian, he aspires to expand scholarship on the transfer of American technology and urban design to Asia during the Cold War. Congratulations, Dr. Lee. And our last but not least recipient is Dr. Antonios Todes, whose dissertation is entitled Beginning Again with the Classical Orders, Rhythms of Justice, Nature, and Architecture. Unfortunately, Dr. Todes could not be with us this evening, but we celebrate him and his work in China. Dean Steiner, this concludes the presentation of the class. This concludes the presentation of the class of graduates of the PhD in Architecture.
Congratulations, PhD candidates in architecture, and thank you, Franca. And now to hood the PhD in city and regional planning candidates is Jeannie Birch, the Lawrence C. Neusdorf Professor of Urban Research and Education and co-director of the Penn Institute of Urban Research.
Good evening. We're last but not least. As you've seen, the PhD or doctorate is the highest achievement in academia. Earning this degree is akin to running a race with many hurdles, 2 years of coursework, a qualifying examination to prove their capability, 2 field examinations to demonstrate their expertise, and the creation, execution, private and public defense of a dissertation, which is essentially a book. Along the way, these students give conference presentations, they write articles for publication, they seek jobs, and they keep their lives together. For those of you who have watched your child, your spouse, your partner, or friend navigate this demanding journey, you may have been amazed by their diligence and dedication. And we too stand in awe of their accomplishments. On behalf of the graduate group in City and Regional Planning, I'm honored to present and welcome our new colleagues in academia. The chairs of the dissertation committees will place the hoods on tonight's graduates' shoulders. The hood has a long history. It dates back to 1200 in Europe. Originally, it served as a hat for scholars when begging for alms to support their work, or as a scarf to protect them against the drafty halls in which they congregated. Thankfully, its purpose has evolved. Bordered in blue for the arts, banded in Penn's colors, the hood today signifies the remarkable achievement of our graduates. And the hooding is the last step in their race. It's the gold medal. So Megan Ryerson. Would you like to say a few words about about Josh's dissertation?
Absolutely.
Please.
Thank you,
Yes.
Jeannie. Hello, everyone. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Josh Davidson. Dr. Along with two very special guests. Josh has continued on his studies and now is an assistant professor of data science and statistics at Oberlin College. And in addition to a very, very distinguished career that he had while he was here at Penn, so many of you know him from his amazing teaching skills as well, and he's left an absolutely indelible mark on the class that's sitting here. You know, Josh, not only do I have this hood to place on you, if they would so like, may I hood you? Like I'm about to hood your daddy? No? Okay. Do you want to hold it? Do you want to hold it? Okay, that's okay. That's okay.
Hold your dad.
Adar? It's okay if I put this on you?
Congratulations to Josh and his family. Our next, oh, you coming back? Our next doctor is Yuanha Lee. Please, Yuanha. Thank you very much. Would you like to say a few words about your dissertation?
So it is a tremendous honor to be hooding Dr. Yuanha Lee here, whose dissertation was titled Understanding Neighborhood Income Diversity, Mixed Methods Approach. You should know there's a joke in academia that anyone who says they do mixed methods does no methods because they try to do everything that they do nothing. As with everything else, Yuanha is the exception. An absolute masterful scholar across every spectrum you can imagine. An amazing TA, an amazing teacher, an amazing co-author with over 3 publications, and now an amazing colleague. I cannot be more honored for you to be my first doctoral student. You are going to keep doing wonderful things. Yuanha is currently doing a postdoctoral fellowship with Dr. Lance Freeman, and excited for all the things yet to come. So congratulations, Dr. Lee.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations to our new doctors and to all of you wonderful graduates.
Well, congratulations, City Planning Doctorates, and thank you, Jeannie, and thank you, children. We do try to recruit at a very young age here at the Weitzman School. And now I'll turn the podium over to Taylor Kanoki, President of the Penn Weitzman Alumni Association. Taylor.
Hello, everyone. I am the last speaker, so I will wrap this up shortly. Thank you, Dean Steiner, for the introduction. And I've met many of you. We threw an event recently in April, Pizza and Prosecco, with the Development, Alumni, and Relationships Office. We had a really good time talking about the next steps in taking your career and really elevating your experience from Weitzman. I'm aware of the hard work, the rewards, sacrifices, and excitement that has accompanied your time at Weitzman. But the next stage of your inquiry starts now. Each of you have developed a unique approach to solve today's challenges and resolve towards a brighter tomorrow. And just like the 12,000 alumni before you, it is imperative that your success, your knowledge, your status as creative thinkers be leveraged to support and advance the Weitzman School now and into the future. In line with the celebration of public space of many of the speakers we've heard from today, this morning, Penn Weitzman Alumni Association hosted our second annual Alumni Weekend off-campus event, which is one of many to come, in collaboration with the office again at Olin Studio here in Philadelphia. Notable speakers included MLA grad Susan Weiler, a partner at Olin, MArch MLA alum Rebecca Popowski, a research associate at Olin, and PWAA's very own Katie Burrell, an MArch graduate and project manager at Kosher-Moose. We toasted the design team and the Center City District for their collaborative effort in the development of Dilworth Park, which asked the question, how can we transform urban infrastructure to create an accessible, humane transit network at the symbolic center of the city? As a result, the redesign transformed Dilworth Park into a welcoming public gathering space and a vibrant green amenity that can be used year-round. Please look out for events like this in the future, and we look forward to hosting you at our Alumni Weekend next year and Homecoming this upcoming fall. As a personal caveat, the last 6 months of my career has kind of been kind of a stars aligning moment. And as an architect working in New York City, I have had the opportunity to begin collaborating on a project with SOM on a premier project on Governor's Island, really focusing on some of the things that really started as interests at Weitzman, which were public architecture, inclusive design, sustainability, equality, and art. And they've all kind of come together into this one project. And it's really, for me, has become like a full circle moment. And so for me, I offer this opportunity for you to really seek graduation as an opportunity for you to find your full circle moment. And we open our arms and invite you to the global community of Weitzman alumni that strive to celebrate and recognize the diverse, collaborative, and enduring spirit of the school. And most importantly, the people. It is a great honor to confer upon each of you the status of the alumni of the University of Pennsylvania Stuart Weitzman School of Design. We encourage you to get involved and stay connected with your university. Thank you so much and congratulations.
Thank you, Taylor. We're about ready to conclude the ceremony. I would just like to have our graduates stand up and give their supporters a hand. So, thanks to everyone. I want to invite everyone to join us for a reception to honor our graduates in Meyerson Hall. There's an order of us concluding. The stage party leaves first, and then the students, following the drum line back to the back of the room, and then parents and guests, please stay until the rest of the stage party and the students leave. So, congratulations, class of 2024.